guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another celebrating Bowie video. Obviously, like I said to you, it's been 10 years this year that we lost David Bowie. It's also 10 years that we've lost Prince. But we're concentrating on David Bowie because he was a major influence on my life, not just in my music, but the way I was and the way he presented himself and the way he kind of was. All this stuff influences you in your life. The things he wears, the way he looks, all those people do sort of adapt certain things to their lifestyle, and you spend a lot of time thinking about this person, like, and when you listen to their music or you go to concerts or if you watch a film. And tonight we're going to be looking at two David Bowie films that I absolutely adored when they came out. And it was because I just looked at Bowie as a singer. You know, not for 1 minute did I think, oh, he's in movies or he acts, and he does. And he's been in a number of films. Probably his most famous film is Labyrinth. But we're not looking at that one today because it's not particularly one of my favourite films of Bowie. But there are two that I adore. The first one we'll look at is The Man That Fell to Earth, which is a sci-fi film which is available on Blu-ray on Studio Canal. It's a science fiction film, and this one is based on David is an alien from a different planet, and on his home planet he has a family, he has wife, and he has children, but his planet is dying. It's run out of resources, especially water. It's like a drought, so his whole family are dying. So he's now they built some form of spaceship. It's not discussed how, but they got a spaceship and he flies to Earth, and he trades in some of these things that he's got from his planet and becomes extremely rich, so he can start a business. And his business is to make these sort of container ship things that can go up to space, taking up water to space. That's what he's trying to do. And whilst he's on the planet, he meets a female, and he sort of gets sort of dragged into the creature comforts, if you like, and the bad sides of life, you know, drinking and drugs and all this sort of thing. And he gets sort of suckered in by this and starts to form a relationship with this woman and starts to forget pretty much about his family. And then he sort of trusts this woman who falls in love with him, and so he then decides to reveal himself to her. And I'm not going to say anything else because there is some moments that are quite shocking in the film for its time. It's a really cool film. It was directed by Nicholas what's his name? Is it Nicholas Rogue? Something like that. Anyway, it is a really cool film, and I saw this when I was quite a young lad, when I used to watch a program on Channel 4 called The Tube. When David was quite popular, this was on the back of Let's Dance. They did like a featurette on David Bowie, where they showed like a 15-minute video of like a career sort of base, right back to the early days, straight through to his mime days when he used to do some sort of mime clown things. And they showed some movie clips which sort of fitted into the sort of heroes sort of image. And Low with the orange hair, and I always thought that was a great image, and I thought, I wonder what this film is. And one of the clips, we see him in the spaceship, going into the spaceship on there, and it's like the walls are kind of like all kind of like, it's a strange looking visual. Now, if you've seen the album cover to Station, the background is that picture is from him entering the spaceship. And when I saw that album in the in FL Malls, I brought it because I thought, oh, this must be the soundtrack to the film. And I was looking everywhere for a movie called Station to Station. Oh, I didn't know. was so young, and I bought the record, and I loved "Wild as the Wind," which turned out to be probably my favourite David Bowie song of all time. I will do a top 10 favourite Bowie songs at some point um, this year. And I was looking for this film called Station to Station, and I used to go in to the video store and all sorts and ask. I used to take him. I said, "Have you got that movie with David Bowie called Station to Station?" And no one had heard of it, you know. And I just thinking, "Oh, this is just crazy. It must be like not even out yet, or something." I didn't know. And I was speaking to the manager at I think his name was Andy, the manager of FL Malls, about that film Station to Station. He goes, you sure? Because there's an album called Station to Station. I said, yeah, but I saw the cover of it, and it's got a picture of him going in the spaceship. He said, yeah, that's taken from the movie. That photo's from the movie The Man That Fell to Earth. No, what? Because yeah, he's in a film called The Man That Fell to Earth, and I just thought, that's why I couldn't find it. So straight back to the video store. Have you got The Man Who Fell to Earth? Yes, we do. And they had it on VHS. Sadly, I don't have that anymore, but I did have it on VHS back in the day. I'm just going to open the window, guys, because it's a bit warm in here today. Yeah, it's overcast today and it's quite cloudy outside and stuff like that, and quite windy. But I just want a bit of air in the room. And yeah, so I actually found out it was called The Man Who Fell to Earth. So I went and bought the VHS film, and I rushed home to watch it. I can't remember what company it was released by. I can't remember. But yeah, it was a like something, not Channel 5 or something like that, but it had something called Channel written on it. I remember it. It was on a cheap sort of label. It wasn't expensive. It was only about $5.99. So I went home and I played it upstairs in my room, because by now I'd got my own little TV. I got my VHS machine upstairs, you know. So I'm looking in my, so I said, this is the early sort of mid-80s, so I'm sort of like 13, 14, that sort of age. And I watched it and it just blew my mind. I just thought, first of all, I didn't understand what the hell was going on. I just thought, this is just too complicated. Where's all, you know, I know it was a sci-fi film, but where's all the action, you know, where's all this sort of stuff? And there's no action really in it. It's a character-based film, and I just didn't see anything. But then it got to that moment when he reveals himself to the woman, and it freaked me out. It was, you know, it's along the lines of Eraserhead kind of like freakiness, and it just really blew me mind. And I just thought, wow, that is just so cool. And yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and it's an amazing film. And I just really got into it, but then I realised that all the songs on Station to Station wasn't on their album. I just thinking, I believe there is a version of this out, a collector's edition that does have the CD soundtrack. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I would love to get that, because, you know, being a huge Bowie fan. But yeah, it's a really cool film, and it didn't do anything. It didn't go anywhere, and it didn't come out to rave reviews or anybody really like it. And I just think, what's wrong with you, David Bowie? But over the years, it's become a cult classic, you know, and it's got its own following, and it's an amazing film. So I was absolutely enthralled that Bowie was in movies. And then there was one of my other favourite singers, David Sylvian, released a solo single called Forbidden Colours with Rishi Sakamoto. And I just thought, oh, this is so cool. And I was told that this new single is from a new film called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, starring David Bowie. I went, wow, he's another film coming out, coming to the cinemas. And I thought, okay, then I've got to go and see this. some imagery of the film, and it was starring David Bowie. And I just thought, this is going to be cool. And then I realised it's got Tom Conti in it, and Rishi Sakamoto actually stars within the film with Kitano Beat Taxi there. So it's quite a big cast. They were all new to me. Obviously, I knew Rishi Sakamoto and I knew Tom Conti from some films I've seen on TV, and of course Bowie. And I was expecting, and I was in love with the song Forbidden Planet by David Sylvian. So I couldn't wait for this film to come out in the cinema. So when it came out, the week it came out, I saw it every day. I went every day to see it. There were 2 films in this sort of period that I went to the cinema for near on a week and a half to 2 weeks to see it every day. This was one, and the other one was Gandhi. I told you about that in a different video. But yeah, I went to see this every day because Bowie was in it, and he had the image of it was similar to his Let's Dance image, because obviously that's the image that I remember from it. And he looked incredible. He looked amazing, and I didn't know what the film was about. I thought it must be a Christmas film. I was lo and behold to find out that it was actually about it was a war film about a Japanese prisoner war camp, and it's about this prison camp is run by Rishi Sakamoto, Captain Inouye, his name is, and and the prisoners that are in the camp that are under the sort of supervision of their captain, Tom Conti. And David Bowie plays a character called Jack Selliers, and he gets captured, and they believe him to be a spy. And when they're in the courtroom, Rishi Sakamoto's there, and he's taken a shine to him. I think in a sort of like he sort of fancies him, and he stops him from being executed, and ends up letting him come to prisoner to his camp. And then the story is based around the characters of Tom Conti, David Bowie, and Rishi Sakamoto, whereas Tom and Conti and Rishi Sakamoto spend a lot of time talking about Jack Selliers, and he realises that he likes him, he's taken a shine to him, and obviously David knows this, and he plays on that quite a bit, and it doesn't go the way that Rishi Sakamoto wants it to go, and it ends up being a way where he ends up resenting David Bowie, and ultimately David succumbs to his sort of death in this sort of punishment and torture that he goes through. But there was still a respect going on. It was all about the samurai way and about the respect of the samurai, because Rishi Sakamoto lives in the way of the samurai, and he loves him, but he can't be seen to love him, if you know what I mean. It's a forbidden love, if you like. And Bowie sort of brings that forward in publicly almost in one point when they're all out, and he goes over and he kisses him on the cheeks, and he shows his weakness and stuff like this. And then the war ends, and it's about what's happened to all these characters at the end of the war. It's a really cool film. It's quite a long film. It's about 2 hours or so, and we have flashbacks in there where the David Bowie character flashes back to his school days with his brother. It's a wonderful, wonderful film, absolutely amazing. It's a really cool film. It's still one of my favourite movies of all time. I absolutely love it. And when I went to see it in the cinema, like I said, I saw it every day. It just blew my mind. It just really did. So when it got a VHS release, I was out on it. And I bought it. I've got the CD soundtrack somewhere as well. I bought the CD of the soundtrack because that is performed by Rishi Sakamoto, who is a musician from a Japanese band called the Yellow Magic Orchestra, but he's also a classical sort of pianist and classical soundtrack writer. He's written a number of films soundtracks. But yeah, and it was absolutely incredible, amazing, full of talent, amazing film. It was just wonderful, wonderful days, and I just love this. It's been a love affair with this film. I love this film, but this one is my film. This is the one that I have the love affair with. It's just incredible. I just absolutely love this film so much. Yeah, and I pretty much, by the end of the week, I knew the script, I knew the songs, I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't care. You know, I went there every day because the cinema was new to me then, and I loved the smell of the cinema, the smell of the popcorn and the stuff like that. It was just really, really cool, and it just sort of like, yeah, and I was absolutely infatuated with David Bowie, you know. Like I said, also I loved Gary Newman, but Gary Newman wasn't into making films. He did do a TV advert when he was young for Lee Cooper jeans, but he never did films. But David did, and Bowie starred in other films as well. He starred in Gandhi. He does star in Gandhi, so I was shocked when he turned up in that. And he's in a number of other films he sort of turns up in, and TV programs, comedy shows. He was in Ricky Gervais's comedy show Extras and all this sort of thing. So he's quite a diverse sort of person. He's not afraid to dab his hand into movies, as well as making music and touring and concerts and writing. I'm surprised he never wrote any novels. He might have done, but I don't think he did. But these were two films that really meant something to me in my David Bowie journey. Yeah, like I say, everybody knows Labyrinth, the fantasy film, and it's a great film. I don't own it here in the UK. I don't think we have a Blu-ray version of it that is not out of print. I believe there was one some years ago, but it's now out of print, so I don't have a copy of Labyrinth because it wasn't one that I love. But these, I've got two versions of this, and I have one version of Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and they're fantastic. Thanks very much, guys. So that was a little look at David Bowie in the movies. That's why I've called the video Watch This Man, Watch That Man, because that's also the name of a Bowie song. So yeah, fantastic. So I think my next video I'm going to do is going to be my top 10 favourite David Bowie live albums. Massive shout out to my lad. See you soon, guys.